Is David Sinclair wrong about aging? And if so, how exactly? These are my updated thoughts about his ideas, including the idea of NAD boosting, based on my aging test results over the last 2 years. Before that, a personal note. I'm starting a new direction with my videos. I'll be making less study interpretation videos and focus more about sharing insights with you as I implement longevity strategies and protocols with my clients and in my own body. Basically what I'm seeing in real life. And also I intend to share more about personal things I'm going through along the way. And that's going to be interesting to you. So I want your advice on that, on this path, so I could modify my videos based on your feedback. So please tell me your advice in the comments below. Now, let's get back to Sinclair and my aging tests. So after analyzing 4 aging tests for the last 2 years, a pattern emerged. When I focused on activating the body natural system, I not only felt the best, also during my exercise, but also my aging tests, both the organ age, the tissue age, and the needle pace, the aging pace, were improved. However, when I implemented the idea of using plant molecules to target different tissues in our bodies, then suddenly I've seen terrible results, including tissues that behave much older. So what's going on here? Shouldn't we use plant molecules to activate different tissues in our bodies in order to support the body's aging? So I want to start first of all with a big theme, which is Sinclair framework, which is plants as a main player, as opposed to my updated framework, which is the body as the main player. Let me explain. So Sinclair, it talks a lot about hormesis. Of course, hormesis is beyond just plants, right? When you do exercise as well, is hormesis, quote unquote. But in this context, hormesis is using plant molecules to stress the body so the body adapts. You know, what doesn't kill you, make you stronger. Now the plants come, they give some information to the body, and the body as a result becomes more protective against aging. Of course, Sinclair also spoke about diet. You know, he prefers a vegan diet and not too many carbs, and he focused a lot about polyphenols and plant compounds. So the idea is basically stress the body with plants, and the plants will, quote unquote, tell the body what to do. But here's the problem. If you are doing longevity properly, the first question is not, what do I add? The first question is, how do I activate the body to the maximal potential, and what am I doing that interferes with the body built-in longevity systems? So this is something that you're gonna see in every field. Like usually the beginners are gonna ask, what should I add? Which supplement I need to add? So I'm gonna add quercetin, fisetin, etc. But the experts are gonna say, okay, what are you doing that is correct? What am I doing that prevents success? So longevity is the same. My core shift based on my tests is that instead of using plants as the main driver of the body's information, we're actually treating the body's rhythm and timing as the main driver. And then we're gonna fine-tune the right plants specifically in the right timing during the day, in a way that makes what the body does better, not give the body further information that the body may be confused by. This is exactly what I've seen in my tests. So how do we design a protocol that does that? First of all, we need to ask the question, how does the body naturally activate longevity mechanisms without actually forcing it? So for example, the body tends to open autophagy in 2 windows during the day, usually in the morning after awakening, roughly the first 3 to 4 hours, and then late evening as you transition into sleep. So once you see that, the whole game changes. If you actually follow a diet that activates autophagy, if you exercise intensely, now we're not just adding hormetic molecules. Now you're asking, how do I avoid interfering with these windows? And only apply plants exactly in a very narrow, well-timed doses when they actually fit the natural rhythm of the body. So this is the key contrast. So Sinclair style thinking, plants push the body. My updated protocol logic, activate the body first. Now the body leads the way, plants assist sparingly in precise windows. So the core idea is we activate the longevity mechanism first. Now another example. NAD boosting. This is Sinclair's belief system, right? Sinclair says that we need to boost NAD because it goes down with age. And even though, in studies, when you put animals on caloric restriction, they live longer by NAD recycling, not by boosting NAD. Sinclair basically said NAD goes down with age, and NAD boosters mimic caloric restriction, what we have seen with these animals. And I will say, instead, this approach is more relevant to the average person. Why? Because the average person has a very poor NAD recycling. They don't really activate this system. So taking NMN or niacin really makes perfect sense because they don't recycle. And NAD goes down with age, so really need this support. They have this deficiency, and also, of course, they have massive DNA damage, and you need the NAD booster to repair this damage. So for these people, it's great. But if you're following a protocol that activates the longevity pathways in your body, suddenly you have a different problem because you're already activating the NAD recycling in your body. The body is going to do it anyhow, especially if you're young before age 65 or 70. So you're going to have a lot of NAD recycling. Now, what happens when you add a lot of NMN or niacin? Think about recycling. Let's say that I have this bottle here, okay? I finished drinking, it's empty, right? There was an NAD consumption, quote unquote. Then I go and refill this bottle again and drink it. I recycle the bottle. I use the bottle again and again and again. Now, instead of refilling this bottle, I'm just going to give you more and more bottles. This is the idea of NAD boosting as opposed to recycling. Giving me more bottles actually going to impede in some way the recycling process. It's going to give me more things to deal with, which I actually don't really need. It removes the simplicity from the process and actually can get in the way. Why is it similar to this analogy? Is because the idea of NAD recycling, you just need one molecule of NAD to be used again and again and again and again. You don't need a lot of NADs, molecules, provided you by NAD boosters. Now, what happens when you add a lot of NMN or niacin? You're actually only adding more substrate, more molecules for the body to recycle, which is actually becomes detrimental. It's actually going to get into the way. And by the way, this is verified in all animal studies. What really makes them live longer is the NAD recycling. It's not the boosting. If the boosting was so amazing, NMN would really increase lifespan dramatically and all those things, but it doesn't. So if you activate your system and you under age 65, you don't need any niacin, you don't need NMN at all. You need nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now over age 65, I think there is value of adding a bit of substrate. My father is 72, he doesn't exercise intensely, he eats the average diet, he needs boosting. So I give him NMN. You're probably going to get like one cycle of NAD and this is it, maybe twice and this is it. Maybe he's going to get some perception of scarcity. You know, maybe the body says, okay, we need to buckle up here. So this was an example of how we use this protocol to support what the body is doing, instead of assuming that the body will not activate longevity mechanisms and try to intervene from the outside with supplements and plant molecules. Make sense? This is my sharing for today. Over the last 6 months, I became more and more excited about achieving people results versus actually producing more research videos. I think at this point in the game, when we have the proper testing, it's much more exciting to do things and see results in humans, in actual tests and how they look, and their energy levels, their bodies, all those things. So for me, it's time to take longevity and aging to the next level. I'm building something new. A small pilot cohort in London focused on structured biological rejuvenation. It combines both the protocol and infrastructure from a clinic I have collaboration with. This is going to happen between mid-May to late August, early September, again in London, inside a London clinic, and I can accommodate a group of up to 6 people. It's going to be very intimate. We're going to test before and after and measure many aspects of aging. And we're going to measure real biological outcomes, not guessing. If you want to hear more about that as it develops, there is a waiting list that is open right now. That's the only place I will share this early access. If this is something that makes you excited, so just join the waiting list. You can go to Rimon, my first name, .club. It's rimon.club.